Greetings, I am the Soviet Warlord, and today I am bringing you another episode of Stakhanov's Builds. In this episode, I'll be bringing you the Nova Warframe. Nova is a very high power, but extremely fragile antimatter and electromagnetically orientated warframe. It still has a reputation among the community for being overpowered. It is still revered by the community, and it may not make you many friends when you play, but it's still a very effective warframe. In order to obtain Nova, you can purchase her for 375 platinum, free with a slot and an Orokin reactor for supercharging, or you can buy the blueprint for 35,000 credits, and you can hunt down Raptor on Europa for her components. All in all, your total resource cost for every part, if you choose to build them, will be as follows: 1 neural sensor, 2 morphics, 1 control module, 500 salvage, 600 plastids, 1000 ferrite, 800 rubido, 150 polymer bundles, 150 alloy plates, 80,000 credits in total, and 1 Orokin cell for piecing it all together. It's very expensive, but it's worth it. Like every other warframe, she comes with 4 base abilities. Null Star, an orbit of a number of antimatter particles which seek out enemies and kill them while you move. It's a passive ability. Antimatter Drop, a bomb of antimatter which deals high radioactive damage to every enemy in the blast radius. Wormhole, a placeable portal which allows for one-way teleportation to get a vantage point, escape enemies, or allow your teammates to get to previously unreachable places. And finally, Molecular Prime, an ability which has caused many split opinions among the community. It primes all enemies in a very generous range with antimatter, and one shot with a kill can result in a massively damaging chain reaction effect, wiping out tens and tens of enemies in one swift fell swoop. When primed, enemies will also take double damage from all sources, and they also have a highly reduced movement speed as standard, 50% to put a number on it. While Nova is fairly agile and among the most damaging warframes available, she does pay for this in spades, with extremely poor armour, very low shields and terrible health. If you don't stay in cover, or at least play reserved, you'll be getting Swiss cheesed a lot of the time you play. A reserved yet offensive style of play is recommended. Nova is a very nimble frame as well, so keeping on the move can help to evade enemies with non-hit scan weapons such as the Dera, held by the Corpus crewmen. In this build, we will focus on hitting hard, staying aware, and keeping you as a threat even in death, a martyr class if you will. We will be retaining all but one of her abilities. To this end, our first pick is our all-important Molecular Prime, with the ability to decimate armies of enemies in one stride, slow them down, and make them easier to kill. As long as you can stay safe and alive, even enemies over level 200 become a lot easier to tackle when they take double damage, and with a good primary, anything that is primed can easily be taken out, especially with a team. It's a very strong choice to have. Even though it's open to debate, it does open a lot of team play when you weaken enemies in this way, so we must use it. Molecular Prime can do more than 700 damage per detonation completely on its own, but when we combine this with Blind Rage, it grants 99% more damage. Despite the cost, a very well timed ability from Nova's arsenal can clear an entire map and almost make the energy back in drops, but 165 energy is very excessive by any standard, so there does exist a remedy to this, which will be clear later. Following our offensive theme, Antimatter Drop is next. When you don't quite have enough power for your ultimate, it's likely that this becomes a nice alternative. A well-placed antimatter bomb can take out entire groups when the power that you need to cast Molecular Prime is not warranted, or not enough energy, it works. But if you're still faced with numbers, Antimatter Drop can blow them all away. It can, like your ultimate ability, be used as a martyr. Casting it just as you die can let you exact instant radioactive revenge and death in your wake, and clear the way for your allies to save you. On top of this, the orb absorbs and soaks damage from both friendly and hostile fire, and magnifies it by a whopping 400% upon detonation when maxed out. It can also be steered with with the aiming reticle, so delaying the explosion to soak up a little more damage from your teammates yields massive returns. Another Nova can also combine their antimatter drop orb damage with yours for a truly nuclear, exponentially increasing damage blast. It can wipe out very, very powerful enemies. As Nova becomes quickly outgunned in the later waves, and indeed the late game, her third ability, Wormhole, makes an ideal way to escape combat where needed, to get out of reach, bypass enemies such as the Grineer Heavies who threaten to ground slam you to death. In a heartbeat, you can escape from them, as well as boost teammates to the same safety, or get them over previously insurmountable objects in one shot. With some clever thinking, Wormhole becomes an avid defensive tool, and an agility tool, to increase your lifespan and your teammates. However, we do skip over Null Star and proceed to iron out our powers with the rest of the build. Fleeting expertise may come with a penalty of 60% less duration, but this is negligible. Molecular Prime is not affected by a duration mod whatsoever. Antimatter drop is also not affected as it's a single projectile. Wormhole is, but in this build you'll be using your own wormholes very promptly, and the duration loss from fleeting expertise will not be an issue. With 60% of your efficiency restored almost for free, even with a maxed out blind rage, your abilities will still only cost base numbers, more or less. Needless to say, this is a great addition to your build. It counts essentially for double damage for free, or for very little more than it would otherwise. In order to capitalise on that cost and get our money's worth, we combine Focus to the mix, for a combined total of 129% more power strength, allowing you to tackle truly dangerous foes, and destroy his friends like a chain of dominoes. In defense and survival in particular, it's a massive force multiplier, especially as the blast damage caused by Molecular Prime is given as a bonus on Infested, similar to the bonus that radiation damage does against certain Grineer units done by antimatter drop. Even though Nova has a very generous range on her Molecular Prime, reaching out to 25 meters, we still combine Stretch, and this greatly increases it to just under 37 meters, resulting in larger kill chains and altogether clearer maps. Since Nova's ability to get Swiss cheesed is quite prominent, our next two mods, while unorthodox to say the least, are very useful, both if you're struggling to adjust to a weak frame, if you are used to a frame such as Rhino for instance, or just to increase your chances of recovery. Undying Will, while underestimated, extends your bleed out by 48% when you go down, allowing you to live for 9 extra seconds. This is a huge difference, and it gives your teammates a lot more time to get to you, to clear the area, and save your life. If you're going to be shot down, staying alive that little bit longer will allow you to get back up more times than meeting your doom. The perfect complement to this is Provoked. In addition to bleeding out longer, you can deal 110% more damage when you find yourself on the brink of death. Combined with a high damage pistol such as the Lex, you can deal practically inhuman amounts of damage to reap instant revenge on your would-be killers. And with our final mod, we can iron out our awareness and prevent unnecessary deaths caused by sneak attacks, by stun-locking foes such as the Shield Lancers or Shockwave Mowers. Enemy Sense will grant you a 30-meter radius around your character, where enemies in proximity will be displayed in real time on your radar, allowing you to be better prepared for those pesky Grineer who find a habit of spawning behind you or just sneaking up on you. Your awareness becomes a weapon in itself, so use it well. So that's our build. A good recommended aura would be Energy Siphon to keep your powers fueled. As little difference as it makes if you're playing solo, it's still a contribution, and as your frame is basically focused around powers, high damage and massive strength at the expense of your safety, Energy Siphon makes a very nice combination. Also, quite uncommon for my builds, it requires just a pair of formers, 2. It's a very low cost for a frame well deserving of these 2 formers. So when you positively need to vaporize everything in sight, and indeed everything on the map, elect this antimatter manipulating nightmare and unleash your nuclear rage and tear the map apart. I am the Soviet Warlord, and this has been an episode of Stakhanov's Builds. Join me again next time when I will be covering another weapon. Peace out. On a side note, I will be dispensing a free set of multi-shot mods so you can Swiss cheese your enemies in style. I know quite a few people are missing that split chamber right there on the end. In order for me to consider you, just simply upload a clip onto YouTube of your most impressive kill flurry. But guns only, no powers, just guns. I'll make a video of all of the best ones. Good luck, guys.